this is Ismortah, and this evening, during my, what is the time now? 7 p.m. Central Monday board game stream, go showing you some Memoir 44 unboxing goodness. I don't recall if I showed you the game before, unboxing of the core game, but these are some of the mini expansions that are out for Memoir 44, and I've got, I believe, four, a couple weeks ago, and so during the course of this week, I'll be showing you those expansions I got. So I know for Memoir, it really just depends on what you're going after as far as type of campaign or thematically, Europe or Asia, Europe or Japan. But for me, it was more just having more just different types of stuff in the game, not necessarily specific to a region or to reenact a historical part of World War II. It's more like, hey, I only have tanks. Let's get some additional types of units, additional types of land, and that's as well as going for. That way I can take a more of an approach of like Armada or Legion. That is, let's just create an army in battle and not necessarily reenact a part of history. But anyway, UBU. But yeah, this is some good, cool stuff, and this is some stuff I'm presenting today, which is the alternate board maps you can get, as well as new flight plans I'll be showing you this evening. And of course, if you like what you see, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe here on twitch.tv/Ismortah. And you can see on the banner on the left-hand side has other social media places that you can contribute and show your support. In addition to, of course, Monday and Friday, 7 p.m. CST is the new streaming time. Alright, so let me just make sure sounds legit. And we get started. Monday and Friday, 7 p.m. CST is the new streaming time. Alright, cool. Alright, so I'm going to start with the alternate game boards. I mean, by alternate is originally you get a double-sided board that has grassy plains and then also shoreline. And then you put hex tiles on it to develop the land, to like add hills and roads and buildings, etc. So what this adds is now you also have an Arctic version of the board and a desert version of the board. So if you're playing a scenario that you're in hot or cold, it can be more immersive. And then you're just making the different developments on that area. And that's one of the reasons why I also went after the additional tiles, which you see in a future stream, is that we have stuff that's appropriate for each of these land types as well. And more variety and types of things you will encounter in the environments. So I believe this one is just game boards, but I'm going to open this up just to make sure. Whereas this one I know has some campaign and other stuff in addition to the bazillion plastic pieces. But I believe this one is just boards. But we'll double check. And of course you need the core game to play, base game. But other than that, depending on what you play, you'd play with different types of materials, so you might just need the base game, but you may also need some of the other expansions, depending on what scenario you do. Let's see what we got here. So again, this is the, gives it a good shot prior. You have the Winter Desert board map and the Plateau Hybrid Desert. They call it Winter Desert, but they really should in my opinion, it's a bad translation. It really should have been like Winter Tundra. If But yeah. All right, so looks like there's some additional campaign rules here. We'll get to that in a sec. Let's get to the board. So again, it's like I don't know if I mentioned that it's double-sided. So one side's one side's the other. Sort of deal. Let's go ahead and move the ship. Here we go. So here you see the winter side, and where you can score, put your pieces when you score, of course. And the other side, same deal, but you got desert. You can see some, like, dead skulls and some little plants. Kind of the same thing here. But yeah, this adds some more immersion when you play it, which is pretty cool. But it looks like in this guy, you also had some additional campaign rules, which I thought it did. Here it looks like you have blitz rules. That changes some of the rules of the game. And it also has some simplified campaign rules. And these look like just some additions just to make the game easier to play, probably based on player feedback. I won't go through the minutiae of these rules, but yeah, so there's additional rules that you can do. But no additional campaigns. It looks like this has some additional rules you can do in order to change a couple things. So one is the blitz rules. It looks like it changes, because I know there were originally blitz rules in the game, and this just sort of changes how it works. And then changing the campaign rules to make it easier setup, it looks like. But it looks like balancing changes, including for die roll results. Cool. Well, that's in a nutshell. Some simplified rules, alternate ways to play the game. But honestly, when you play this game, just like any game, you can play however the fuck you want. It's your game. You bought it. It's however you want to have fun. And that's honestly what I plan on doing for this. Like, yeah, I plan on having fun, but like, just say, hey, how about one player? You can create an army of a certain number of units. I create a certain number of units. We alternate placing stuff, placing tiles. Kind of like what you do, for example, Star Wars Legion or X-Wing, and then you just battle and to see who wins. Like, it's cool you're doing a historic battle, but like in the core game, I mean, it's fun that you're playing active history, but it's all just like mostly infantry and tanks. It'd be cool to have some of the other flair military-wise, and that's the main reason why I got this. Like, hey, let's fight in the snow, and let's have tanks and planes, for example, and let's go wham. So, make it yours. It's here, like, if they can change their own game, you can change your own game too. So, it just, obviously recommend having the people who designed the game get first stab at it, just because when they change the game, they're also trying to balance it at the same time. Whereas there's a change, whereas it may be fun and cool, could be very unbalanced and punishing, or may not go great toward the end of the game when someone has an overwhelming advantage or something. Anywho, cool looking board. Do recommend it for changing up playstyles, especially if doing stuff like if fighting in Stalingrad. It would make more sense if you're on the snow, or if you are in Africa, for example. Better to have a desert. Alright, so that is that beast. Now we have New flight plan expansion. This is a typical, let me get you some shots of it. This is what I would say is a typical expansion. Because it's adding an extension to the game. Well, I guess it's an extension, they sort of think stuff like Catan. But it's new ways you can play the game. Like typically extensions and add-ons add stuff to the base game, like this pack. But expansion is like, oh, it's like a whole additional game, but you just need the core thing to play. It's kind of wishy-washy, but this is some lingo. Expansion is bigger than like an add-on or an extension or something. This is like major content, major box. All right, and here in the back is an example of what you see, what you get. And I will say, if you look at the B-17 bomber on the right, that's actually the actual size of the bomber that you see. Everything else are just like representative, but that's the actual size. So like these are huge pieces. That's pretty cool. A lot of plastic. And you also have cards and some other tokens in order to play and field these plastics, and I believe this also does come with some additional scenarios. But similar deal, if you want to do these scenarios in this box, which I'm sure I'll go into when I find the rules in this expansion, is certain expansions you only need this and the base game. But certain expansions you also need some other specific expansions. So for example, because this is mostly planes, some types of planes you might need to have the Pacific expansion. Or some other expansion, like for Europe, in order to field certain scenarios. Because you would need to have that, I say faction, you would need to have like the Japanese Army's tanks if you want to field also Japanese Army's planes. In a Japanese scenario, you also need the map for that location as well. So if you want to do certain reenactments, you need certain pieces from certain other expansions as well. But in my case, just because I'm using this just to have more shit to field and have fun, don't need that necessarily. But just so you know, some of these scenarios need multiple things, not just the base game in this game. Alright, so suits in the box. I have not seen this before. Alright, so we have a whole booklet of scenarios. Holy shit, look at that. Ton of scenarios. Holy shit. And that's what I mean. That's the thing, again, expansion. It's like another game after you have the base game. Whereas this is just like stuff you're adding to any game. So you got a ton of scenarios. We'll flip through that here in a sec. We have, I believe this is how to play. And on the cover here, it says, if we lose the war in the air, we lose the war. And we lose it quickly. Which is interesting, because that's exactly what happened to Hitler in the Battle of the Bulge, if I recall, and don't butcher history, is he had this huge bulge of tanks, but we had air superiority, so the fact that he had better and more tanks didn't matter. They may have even had tactical advantage on the field, but because we had superior air power, it didn't matter. Here's a bunch of tokens, bombs and guns and cool. Looks like targeting stuff. Maybe showing like where you do a bombing run or something. Right. Then we got all of our plastic. So let's see if I can get this out. One reason I was drawn to Memoir 44 is just because I used to play, and I found an emulated version of this game back in the day called Iron Storm. that was on the Sega Saturn. And it was all about playing this type of game, a hex war game, electronically with in World War II. And the fact that, it's like, wow, you can like reenact the game. It's what this shit drew me to it. And I like plastic. It makes it fun. Alright, so we got a bunch of planes. Wow, these planes, some of these planes are huge, holy shit. And here's our deck of cards, which I'll go through those, of course, as well. I think I'll do the scenarios last, because they may or may not pertain to me. But I'll go through the core book first. Let me just go ahead and open this guy. Just so I know what we're looking at, and then we can show all the different pieces. I'm not going to read through it, I'm just going to thumb through, hey, what the hell are we looking at, sort of thing. Of course, like I say this during other expansions I've done previously for other games, like Legion, is I'm not going to be talking about the meta, I'm showing you what's in the box. So the whole point of me going to this, just to see, what is that? What is some of this shit? And guide you to what rules, things you can do, but not go through minutia of how you play the game. Because this is an unboxing, not a how to play, nor a how to win. But those might very well be later streams. Show you strategies and stuff. If some of you are interested in, be sure to let me know in the comments. Again, here on twitch.tv/Ismortah. Or any of the other social medias you see on the banner on the left-hand side. Alright. So here's a bunch of cards. Cool. And then we got some baggies, so we can put these tokens that are in here. And then these are just different trays for the planes. And these look like stands to field any of these planes. To actually show them flying around. Higher than the battlefield. Since you can fly over the battlefield. All these planes are coming out from my sneezing. Great, cool. Alright, so what we got? So in the rule book, we have how to play. And it shows you, for example, here, a grid of which other expansions you need for different eras to play which factions, Axis or allies, to set some stuff up with air rules. And there's 4 theaters, just so you know. There's other expansions. There's Western Front, Eastern Front, Pacific Theater, and Mediterranean Theater. So get some reference what I'm looking at. Alright. It tells you how to set up the game with these different expansions. And like I said, I may even have a separate stream going into how to play new flight plane. We'll see, because there's rules on how you field, how you add these to games, how you move, how you add cards and include these cards in your campaign, how you can move aircraft and ground units under each other or in contact with each other. Again, this video is an unboxing. How to do air-to-ground combat, how to dogfight, which is air-to-air combat, how to withdraw, how to do ground-to-air combat, some shooting at the planes instead of you bombing, and different command cards. And then just some additional examples on some weird rules on placement and priority. And then there's one on page 8, just so you're aware, it talks about English compatibility. So how you can play different scenarios and feel different types of effects. So it's compatibility with certain things with Overlord, with D-Day landings, with Breakthrough, with Pacific Theater night battles. These are special rules for that, and certain other decks. Cool. So then there's in the very end here, and this I'll gloss over, but to show you, on the very back of the instruction manual, there's a thing that shows you all of the different air units in the game. So what's cool is not only does it give you a description of each of the planes, but also sort of like a history of each of the planes too. And then also showing you what theater they would be fielded in, and for what factions. So it's really like when you look at these at a quick glance, you're like, oh, they're all the same, but they're all like a little different actually. They are. Even when you look at these fighters, there's small differences. Now, from a game design perspective, even though it's cool, to identify where it is on this tray is a little cumbersome. So in that respect, it's kind of bad design, because there should be an indicator, at least on the tray or something, to let you know what, if I'm looking for the Supermarine Spitfire, which one is it? Sorry, without having to like compare back and forth. I mean, it's cool historically. They use plastics, and I'm sure easiest way to do it, but it makes it a little cumbersome trying to figure out what something is. Especially when you start flying these around too. I'm hoping there's a way that you can identify easily, like with a sticker or something, what type of like at least what faction a plane's with, so that if you see it on the field, you know whose Spitfire is whose, since they all look a little similar. My game design 2 cents anyway. And maybe there is. Like, I'm not going through the minutia of the setup, because it's just an unboxing. But anyway, if you want to learn more about the planes and see what they are, there's some cool, it's 3 pages. You have 2 pages of fighters. Well, no, you have 1 page of fighters, 1 page of fighter bombers, and then 1 page of bombers. Alright, cool. So let's get to look at the cool shit. Alright, so here's a bunch of tokens. Actually, was there a description of like what's in the box? Normally I see like, you know, what all the materials are. There actually isn't. Normally in manuals there's this is like what's in the box. And it had a cool description of different planes, but there's nothing here saying specifically what's in here. It's interesting. But I'm sure it goes through this minutia and rules, most likely. Anyway, here's tokens used in the game. For punch, double-sided, same stuff. This is for holding the tokens once you punch them out. For the scenario book, like I said, there's a lot of scenarios here. I mean, a lot. It looks like there's 21, so that's pretty cool. But like I said, some of these scenarios you need 1 or more other expansions to play, because if you're doing something in a specific theater with specific other types of units, like German tanks, you probably need the German campaign as well. That's pretty cool. And also, if you're not familiar with Memoir 44, is when you're just looking at these campaigns, not only does it show you how to set it up, but the materials you might need from 1 or more different expansions other than just the core game, but also show you historical of that mission also, which is pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of missions. It'd be interesting to hear which ones I can do without some of these other expansions. But there may not be many, to be honest, because this is really a supplement to if you already have the one of these feeders, and it's also a strategy from any game developer. The fact that you introduce something cool, and you say, "Hey, look, you can do cool stuff with this other thing you don't have." Okay, well now I want to go buy that now too. So it's sort of, a tactic also. And look at this, they look like all of these are in different theaters, it looks like. See your work? Alright, so then look at the cards. I'm not going to read through the minutia, but I will hold these up. I'm trying to think of the best way to do that. Because I've noticed my phone, when I use to capture this, is kind of easier to do because I just zoom in onto pictures, as opposed to trying to negotiate to get the camera to see. So let me think here for a sec. How I want to do that. I think I'll just hold it up. There's one, tank and bunker busting. There's two of those. Plaster the target. There are two of those. Fighter bomber, boom and zoom. Two of those. Carpet bombing. That's for like a, I'm assuming, destroying like an airport. At least that's what it was in Iron Storm. Saturation bombing. You got two of those. Noticing the trend here. Precision bombing. You have two of those. Ground to air attack. You got two of those. Ground to air ambush. Get two of those. Dogfight ambush. Get two of those. Pilot initiative. Ooh, you actually have three of these. They want you to take the initiative. I noticed for these two, like you'll see icons on the side what planes it's for, whether it's for a fighter bomber. Think of like the P-52 in like the 1942 video game, and bombers. Fighter boom and zoom. You have three of those. Rake the enemy. Two of those. Pedal to the metal. Only one of those. The fighter may move to up to 8 hexes this turn, but no combat. Wow, that's a lot of move though. That's like clear across the entire map. Air ace. There's a P-52. Spotting. We have 2 of those. Alright, then we have look like some description cards on different types of ammo and planes. We have Fighter. We have Fighter Bomber. We have Bomber. And these are cards kind of like the cards that go this way for describing the hex tiles, just so when you have them out, you know at all times, oh, what can a bomber do? What's the limitations? Its attack, its movement, blah, blah, blah. That sort of thing. Here's Fighter. Fighter Bomber. Bomber. Maybe some of these are in duplicate since maybe for one player and the other player. Probably. Yeah. And then plain ammo, not as in plain as in vanilla, but as in a jet. What different? So yeah, so this shows all different icons what to use for. Yeah, this your descriptions right here. Cool. That is all the cards. Now let's take a look at the creme de la creme, which is the cool plastics. Which, again, off the top of my head, I don't know what they are because they don't have symbol. Oh, no. I couldn't tell at first because it's kind of dark. But if you look at the plastic and you put it in the right plastic spot, it actually does say in the plastic here, you're probably not going to be able to make it up on the feed, but it says on the plastic what each plane is. Like, here's a P-51, here's a F4U, an IL-2. So that's pretty, okay, so that's good. So yeah, so I'll just show them like this because I don't want to keep them out. But yeah, a lot of them look similar but different. You can definitely tell the main difference between little fighters, fighter bombers, that it looks like a bigger fighter, and then the bombers, obviously, like see here, which are huge. So you have 3 standees that look like this for probably putting bombers in other planes. Here are the bombers. B-17 in the upper right. HE-111 is on the left in the middle, for example. Pretty cool. I'll take out the, what's the biggest one? I'll take out the B-17 since we talked about it. So the detail on these is pretty cool. So here's the B-17. And it's not just the top that has the detail, but all the way around, including the bottom too. But like I said, there's no descriptor actually on the plane. So you want to be very careful when you're putting it back, that you're putting it in the right spot. That way you know what something is, because some of these planes look very close to other planes. So you might accidentally fill the wrong one. But it's cool. You can see like the guns for anti-air on the bottom and the front. It's pretty cool. Well, yeah, so if you want to have some cool planes to add to your theaters of war, I recommend this, so you get those planes you can add as well. But like I said, you don't just get planes for that theater, you get it for all theaters. So it's really, it's a good augment for like Pacific Theater, but you'll get other stuff which you may not be able to use if you only have Pacific Theater. So where. You get more cool stuff. Now, what's interesting is it said that you added campaigns for stuff other than, but it looked like all the campaigns you needed a different theater of war But the back of the box said there were some campaigns that you only need the base game, so maybe it's just because I'm forgetting what the theater is that's in the base game, and maybe I was referencing that, like maybe that's the Western Front. Could be. But anywho, like I said, like I'm thinking about coming up with my own variant of Memoir 44 that you're just fielding units. So you just give stuff like point values, or to say each side has the same number of units, and you just go back and forth placing stuff, placing terrain, and then just have like a slugfest. Because I just like fielding military units and going to battle. So that's me. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Definitely recommend. And if you want to have play in the desert or the tundra, you have the alternate game boards as well. Well, cool. That's it. I'll have some more Memoir expansion reveals and more packs this Friday, so be sure to check out the stream at that time, which again is 7 p.m. Central. And thanks for watching. Again, this is Ismortah, and I will catch you next time.